All right, so we are in session 3 for lesson 7. This is the last part of this, and this is more of a review than anything. So let's get right into it with the warm-up. So with the warm-up here, we have two different sides here. So we're multiplying by powers of 10 on the left. We're dividing by powers of 10 on the right. If you're multiplying, you're increasing the size of the number. So our factors for all of these is 2. But if we're multiplying by 2 times 10 to the third, that basically means we've got our 2 and we're going to add 3 zeros to it. So it's going to work just like this. So 2 and 3 zeros, just like that. For this one, we've got 2 times 10 to the second. That's 2 and 2 zeros. 2 times 10 to the first, and that would give us 20. Now division is the opposite. Division is going to be you take that factor, this 2, and then you're going to actually decrease its value by one place value. So 2 times 10 to the first is actually going to become 0.2. 2 divided by 10 to the second means we're going to decrease the value by 2 place values. That's 0.02. And 2 divided by 10 to the third means we're going to decrease the value by 3. So that's 0.002. And that's basically how you run that. So again, if you're dividing, you're decreasing the value of your factor. If you're multiplying, you're increasing it. So just need to keep those ideas in mind. All right, these notes start on page 141. And again, with these videos, if you are learning this from home or after a lesson, what you can do is basically pause it or rewind it if you miss any part of it. So you've got the power to do that. All right, so on 141, it says complete the place value chart with the products and quotients shown to the right of the chart. Then write a sentence to compare the value of 8 tenths times 10 to the second to the value of 8 tenths divided by 10 to the second. So what we have here is we're going to start right here in the middle. We've got our 8 tenths. So if we are multiplying by 10 to the first, that means this 8 will actually carry over and will move up into this place value. If we multiply it by 2, times 10 to the second, that will carry 2 places over, and that will become 80. So you can see the movement of the 8 for it like that. Let's see what else we can do here. Now we can do the opposite with division. For division, what we can do is move our numbers in the opposite direction. So I'll just circle this with an 8 like that. Okay, so our 8 we're doing divided by 10 to the first. That means it moves one place value over. Now we can't leave this spot blank. You have to put a 0 in there as a placeholder. Same for here. If we move that 8 tenths 2 places, then we've got to put our zeros right here. So that's how basically how that works out as far as your numbers go. So again, dividing makes it smaller, multiplying makes it bigger. Pretty simple. For question 2, it says Max says the product of 30 times 10 to the fourth has exactly 4 zeros. Now what Max is looking at is this 4 here, and he's probably gotten used to knowing that that means you're going to add 4 zeros to your number. However, this is different. So is he correct? So the answer is no, and this is why. So the first factor, which is 30, and notice this right here, it already has a 0 in it. Already has a 0. So he is going to increase it by 4 zeros thanks to this, but he already had a 0 in it, so the total zeros would be 5. So again, be careful with that if there's ever a question like that. Let's look at 3. How do you determine the value of the unknown exponent in the equation 9,700 divided by 10 to the question mark if it equals 97 hundredths? So we know that the dividend and I'm going to just put this in parentheses, is divided by 10 and let's stop for a second because it is divided by 10, but how are we going to get this decimal point to that location? Well, that means we have to take the decimal and go 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps over. So that meant we divided it by 10 4 times to get the answer of 97 hundredths. Sometimes they'll ask you questions like that where you have to come up with the exponent. All right, let's go to the next page. Again, these are very short notes for today. Jamie claims that when you multiply a whole number or a decimal by 10 to the second, the placement decimal point in the product is always 2 places to the right of where it was in the factor. Salome argues that the placement of the decimal point changes 2 places to the right only when you multiply a decimal by 10 to the second. Salome says when you multiply a whole number by 10 to the second, you can put 2 extra zeros after the whole number to find the product. Explain each student's point of view with examples. Well, we're going to make it a little simpler than that. So Jamie, and let's put Salome over here. I'm going to break it down even simpler. So Jamie is basically claiming this, that simply put, he said you move the decimal point, which is one way that you can do it. Salome, on the other hand, looks at it a different way, that you move the numbers to different place values, which is also correct. When I first started teaching this to you, I really focused on moving the numbers to different place values. And then when we started working with bigger numbers, we started talking about moving the decimal point number to different place value. And that's your deal for that. It asks which student's correct. Very simply, both. Both of them are correct. And justify your answer, we just can do that with what we just wrote there. So pretty simple. Both are correct. And let's do this last question. So it says, find the value of 80 divided by 10 to the fourth. Explain the change in value between 80 and 80 to 10 to the fourth. So let's just simply do it like this. So we have 80 divided by 10 to the fourth. In your IXL classwork today is going to be all division or dividing by powers of 10. So this is a good warm up for that. So what you can do is this 4 tells me to move my decimal point 1, 2, 3, 4 and stop right here and fill these spots with zeros. So our answer is 0.008 or 8 thousandths. And again, so if you have 80, you divide it by 10 to the fourth. That's going to move your numbers 4 places, but specifically move your decimal point 4 places. So again, IXL from Friday and the IXL from today is great practice, so that helps that concept make sense to you. All right, so your classwork is going to be E6 divide by a power of 10 with exponents. Just like Friday, 70% is the goal, but you may go to 100% for a house ticket if you'd like. All right, good luck, everyone.